currently 3 o'clock. Still have about 3 hours left of daylight where I'm at around this time of year. And I'm just taking a break for a minute, trying to assess where exactly I'm going to camp. I've made it out here to this region of my area where we got a lot of different forested areas and parks. Now, it really comes down to where do I want to camp, because what would I think would be the most enjoyable spot. I'm not trying to be super hidden whatsoever, because I could do that if I wanted to, but it would probably be a pretty boring place to camp. Preferably, I'd like to be by the river somewhere, and I would like it to be open above me, but not around me. You know, I don't want a big canopy. Say these clouds do move, it would be nice to be able to see the stars. So we're gonna figure this out here. Like I said, I have a couple hours before I seriously have to even consider setting up my tent. So it's just gonna be scouting until then. So I'm within the whereabouts of where I'm gonna be camping. I'm gonna be heading back into this wooded area here, but I gotta take my bike. So I'm gonna lighten up the load that I'm carrying on my bike, and I have this set up a certain way that makes that really easy to do. So this is sleeping bag and sleeping pad and the tent poles. Just comes right off like that. I personally say it makes things a lot more convenient. After much hiking and careful deliberation, I think that I found my spot. I don't have my bike here yet, somewhere downstream, but I feel like this spot will do me for tonight. Right by the river. It's remote, but not so remote that it's on, borderline ridiculous. So we'll see. When I get my bike over here, really the only way to find out is to set my tent up and walk away to the nearest path and see if I can see the tent from there. And if I can't, then I should be good, because knock on wood, there's no sign of human activity over here. So I checked out where my spot is, and from the trail, there's not a chance in hell you can see me. I mean, I'm way back there. But since I have a moment and I gotta walk over to my bike to go get it, I see the bike trail. I see the guy over there, and he's a good distance away. So anyways, when traveling or touring, this would not be an ideal way to camp. This is what everybody's gonna post, what everyone's gonna portray, that every night is spent around a campfire in the woods next to a river in your tent, and you're just some badass, bike touring outdoorsman doing your thing. But that's really far from the reality of what most of the camping I do on touring. At least I may be the exception, but after you ride 50, 60, 70 miles and you show up in a town that you don't know, you don't have it in you to do all this. I mean, what I'm doing right now requires a considerable amount of time, a considerable amount of effort. I know the area. More likely than not, what I did when I was on the road is I found a business, a church, a school, something that already existed where I could be hidden. And I didn't have a tent. I had a bivvy and a sleeping bag, and I went up against somewhere where the shadows covered me, and that's how I did it. Or in some low-lying brush even, where laying down I couldn't be seen. I did that at least once. You know, it's more or less throw your stuff down, sleep in it, get out. I wouldn't, if I was traveling on the road, I wouldn't be out here hiking around like this. It's just so unlikely that this would actually have a practical application. You know, what I would really be doing is I'd probably be hanging out at a grocery store, a library, a mall, a downtown area. I would scout out my spot on Google Maps. I'd go check it out in the day. Then I'd hang out somewhere. Once it got dark, I'd ride over to said place, lay down in my fucking bed, and sleep. And when the sun came up, pack up and move on. So this type of thing that I'm doing right now is really more for leisure. It's really just for fun. You know, the reason I got the tent is because there's so many campgrounds that I felt like I would have been able to utilize would have had a tent. But since I didn't have a tent, it seemed kind of weird to go to a campground where you have families with RVs and stuff. I'm right next to other people, have no privacy at all. I'm on a bike. It just, you know, I did it for one night at a time in places that I went to. And having a hammock is not necessarily ideal at a campground. You can't always get a spot with trees. You don't get a whole lot of privacy in the hammock. But the reason I got the tent is because I think that it would be worth it for the instances where there is a campground available, that I could pitch my tent and stay there for a week or so. And I could regroup and have some privacy, have a nice, safe environment, use their facilities. And it would be much cheaper than getting a motel room or a hotel room. So I did not get the tent with the thought that I'm going to be using it every night, that I'm going to be using it to stealth camp. No, I got the tent basically as a substitution for staying in hotels, which when I was on the road, I probably averaged one night a week at a hotel or a motel. And the only reason was for privacy and a good night's sleep, because I didn't have a tent. But now, having a tent, I think that the tent at a campground will suffice. So here we are. I gotta hike this back over to the spot. This is the magical piece of gear that supposedly will add 25 degrees of warmth to my sleeping bag. We'll see. This thing feels paper thin, but I suppose I have the receipt if it doesn't work out. Here's the finished product. The humble abode for tonight, hopefully. I'm a lot further out than I was last time, so if something went wrong, it's gonna be a lot more of a pain in the ass to try and bail. So, when I was on the road, this was the sleep system. Just imagine this without the tent and without the liner, but it was the pad, the bivvy, and the bag. In the beginning, it wasn't even the same sleeping bag, but I had to upgrade it. But like I said, hopefully this liner works out. And right now, I'm gonna dig into step 2, which for me is just gonna involve making a cup of coffee, chilling out for a minute. Sun's starting to set. We got a little bit of snow coming down, not a whole lot. I'm in the sleeping bag right now, and I'm feeling pretty optimistic about it. It's keeping me warm right now. I could fall asleep if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. Not sure if I'll have a fire tonight, but that's pretty much it. A lot of active wildlife. There's squirrels fighting each other, deer, all sorts of stuff going on right now. But, you know, keeps you tough being out here. Well, it's getting chilly as the sun is setting, as you'd probably imagine, being that it's February in Michigan. I'm about to cook up some, if you can see it, New England clam chowder. I haven't made a fire, and I might not, so we'll see. It all kind of depends how bored I get or how cold I get. But I have more clothes. I have, you know, the clothes I'm gonna wear at night, because that's really the wise thing to do, is to change into different clothes to go to sleep in. That's really the only way to do it when it's this cold. So, we'll see. I might just be eating and relaxing and more or less hanging out in my sleeping bag. That's cooking quick. Well, it ain't cooked, but anyways. So the soup's done, and I'm just digging in here. And to be completely honest, this New England clam chowder reminds me of my childhood. You know, we ate this a lot as kids. pretty good. Other than that, it is getting fucking cold out here quick. I really hope that this sleeping bag liner is gonna keep me as warm as it claims to. Because to pack all this out, to lug all my shit out of these woods, and then to ride all the way back home would be absolutely tragic. So, I just gotta be optimistic. I got plenty of food. I got way more food than I even need. I got another can of soup. I have a couple liters of water, another ramen, chicken salad and crackers, all sorts of granola bars and whatnot. More food than I would ever need to carry, really. And that's just one thing I learned. One thing I learned today, there's no reason to carry that much food. You're never gonna be more than, a couple miles from a store at any given point in time, unless you're out in the desert. But even in the desert, all I carried was just emergency food, food that I would only eat if I needed to eat it in an emergency. So that's one thing I did find out. And I knew, but whatever. I got the food with me. I'll probably have that second can of soup. Going for can number 2. This is baked potato with cheddar and bacon bits. Might as well. I need all the calories I can get if I want to stay warm through tonight. I'm already a little bit warmer after eating that first can of soup. And if I don't eat it tonight, oh, fuck. It'll probably freeze. Let's go. I think the stove was definitely a good investment. I mean, being able to have some hot soup out there, I hope that's in the shot. Some hot soup out here, coffee in the morning. In my opinion, that's priceless. I'm just chilling out. And I don't gotta make a fire if I don't want to, cause all that commotion. And I can still have hot meal. Well, since I guess I have a second to talk about it here, I don't know if anyone else is feeling this. It's February, so where I live, it's very cold. Winter is really setting in. There's not much to look forward to. And the lack of sunlight and the cold weather and this recent snow that we've been getting is, I don't know what it is, man. I've just been so lethargic, so unmotivated. I feel like I'm in some sort of rut, Like, a lot of the good stuff that I was doing not too long ago, I don't feel like I'm doing as much. I don't feel like I have as much motivation to get up and, do difficult things. I don't know if it's the season, if it's winter, or if it's just season of life. I guess your life isn't just going to be a constant stream of productivity, or at least mine isn't. I can tell you that for a damn fact. My life is far from a constant stream of productivity. But I'm gonna be in Michigan here at least until my birthday, which is at the end of the month. I'll be turning 25. Well, I ended up doing a fire anyways. Mainly because I want to burn the small amount of trash that I have. I personally don't see anything wrong with burning small amounts of garbage. I honestly think that, you know, to be completely honest, you can disagree, but burning a tiny amount of garbage is better for the environment than having it just go sit in a landfill. And, you know, be a part of all the resources that involve getting it to a landfill. So mainly I built this fire because I want to burn a little bit of the garbage that I brought with me. And it also is giving me some warmth. So, and something to do. So yeah. Got a nice little fire going. I don't want to jinx myself, but it's just been so easy making fires out here lately. One of the things about doing this winter camping out here is that it gets dark at around 6 o'clock and you gotta have your stuff set up before dark. Well, you don't have to, but it makes things a hell of a lot easier. And, you know, most people typically don't go to bed anywhere near 6 o'clock. I usually go to bed at around midnight, so it leaves for a lot of time for me to just be out here hanging out in the dark. In the summer, when it doesn't get dark till like 9 or 10, you only have to hang out in the dark for a couple hours. But in the winter, that's not the case. It's about 9:35. This fire's been going for a minute, and I'm really just hanging out. It's nice. The solitude is needed in a way, you know? It's kind of like being removed from everything that's going on. Even though I'm right there, it's just being out here in the cold, in the dark. It gives the feeling that I'm removed from everything that's going on. It kind of feels like it allows me to take a step back almost and just evaluate everything from a distance without having to be a considerable distance away. So, fire's more or less burnt up at this point. I've changed into the clothes I'm gonna wear to bed, which is thicker pants and these rain pants on top of it. I got the socks that I'm gonna wear to bed heating up right now in my hoodie pocket, and I also threw another base layer on underneath everything I was wearing on my upper body. And I put this thing on my neck, which I'm gonna pull over my face probably during the night. So I'm about to hop in the sleeping bag here and start warming it up. It's probably like 11:30. So hopefully I'll be able to keep warm and stay warm. All right, I'm in the sleeping bag in the tent, warming up as we speak. Hopefully I won't be out of the sleeping bag until the morning. So I'll see you then. It's currently about 7:30 and it is 23 degrees, but it feels like 16. And I'll tell you that the sleeping bag liner seemed to work out, and I was way warmer last night than I was the previous time I slept out here. So I'll talk about it a little bit more after I've had some coffee. Well, honestly, there isn't much to say about last night. The real feel was down in the teens. The sleeping bag liner seemed to have worked fine, and besides the sleeping bag liner, I also wore these rain pants over my pants as well. And I was toasty warm. I have no complaints. So I'm gonna have another cup of coffee and start packing up and heading out here. So we're all packed up here. About to hike on out. I've made it up to the main trail. It's about roughly 8 miles to get to where I need to be this morning. So should be a nice little ride. Sun's out, kind of. It was out at least, but hope you enjoyed the video. I'd say that this was a success, and I'll see you next time.